Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in this part of the world. Thank you for joining us and thank you for uh, just being with us. Lots of prayers and, everything's happening here in Jerusalem. So if we hadn't been online for a couple of weeks, then you should know that we were being bombed at that time. So we wasn't sure. There's no like designated time frame. It just kind of, when it rains, it pours type deal. So we're glad for your prayers, and we are safe, and we know that God's got everything in control. So, a lot of interesting things that's been happening. We were bombed, I think it was 2 days ago, I believe, and 2 or 3 days ago, probably 3 days ago. And okay, so, and so we kind of have to, even today, so if it's been quiet, which is unusual, but usually when it's quiet, that's when they do the bombing. But if we by any chance get disconnected, or we'll try to stay live streaming as long as we can, but sometimes you may hear the sirens go off in the background and you probably see us disappear off the screen because we're probably doing the opposite, which is running to the balcony instead of running for shelter. So that is us. That is our life. We are on this roller coaster ride for the duration. So, and in my case, I get sick, nauseated on roller coaster rides. So, but the adrenaline rush is great. So we are safe, and we thank you for joining us. And we're so glad God's doing the miraculous. Some people say, "Oh, I got to see it," but it's the behind the scenes that God works also. So I am going to turn it over to our leaders. I hope that was long enough for everybody to get online. You know, we're glad to see everybody join in and just, you know, send us your prayers. So if we don't get an answer for your request of prayers or emails or whatever, please know that our internet goes in and out. Uh, so it's unstable in all its ways. So please keep that in mind. Trust us. Even on this broadcast, we always have issues. So today it's been quiet, which is unusual. It's really kind of really been a little bit too quiet for a Sabbath. So usually there's a bunch of people going down to the old city and the old wall and doing their rituals. So it's been quiet and nobody's been on the street. So who knows? Hopefully we can keep everybody up and going. If not, then if we're here and we're still live streaming, if not, we'll probably take the live stream to the balcony and you can see the bombs with us. So moving right along, we're going to pass it over to our team leaders.
Wow. Okay. I had a meeting and time of worship and prayer before we go live. And due to many reasons, I don't air that. However, Stacy's right. A day before yesterday, 255 bombs hit between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. Now, I want you to imagine this. In just a little over a week period of time, 1,441 bombs have struck Israel. Now, it doesn't tell us the death, but we can see the bombs and the maps. And just as Stacy said, when the alarms go off or the sirens go off, we run to the balcony to pray. Everybody else runs in high to take shelter. I just believe that God will protect us and that He has a purpose and a reason for us being here. But imagine, since the 18th, we have had this going on all but one day. Now, there was bombing earlier today, not in this time frame, but it was just a small, I say about 5 or 6 bombs that went off, but it didn't make the whole ricochet around everything. But I want you to think about this. Imagine if you had a choice to be here in Jerusalem in the midst of the war, on the front line. Would you have obeyed what God had asked you to do, or got on a flight and took out of here? What would you do personally? Every second of the day, we are on listening and staying alert. That does affect our sleeping. It affects every part of our life. But Stacy and I are on the front line. Now, when I say we're on the front line, it's subject as we're having this class today. You'll hear the as Stacy said, sirens go off, and you'll see us run. And that's when we run to the balcony to pray. Now, that to me is very critical because it's God's protection that's going to protect those. As I said, just day before yesterday was 255 bombs. And we have the maps that show what's going on. And sometimes I post them onto Facebook so you can see what the recent attack is. I want you to see that it's not just one specific group of people that these bombs are headed for. It's for everyone in the nation, regardless of their background, their ethnicity, their religion. It has no respect of persons. When that bomb comes out, it's going to go off, and who knows where it's going to be. Now, I will say this. It's very important that you understand. Today, I'm going to teach you the truth and how to really pray and how that prayer will make a massive difference in your life. If we go back into the scriptures, we will hear and read where it says, teach us to pray. That was the one thing that the disciples told Jesus, teach us to pray. We're in an area where you see many people pray throughout the day. It's quite different. Many head to the old wall, the Western Wall, or to the mosque in order to pray. I guess they don't think that God can hear them any place. Don't want to be critical, but that's how it is. There are times on balconies and in the streets you might see people reading the scriptures or reading them a book that's telling them what to pray. I don't think you could put in a book the directions on how to pray when you've got bombs flying over your head. It's just written too many years ago and bombs didn't exist. But we need to think about how everybody in this nation, not only here, but in Lebanon, Syria, and other parts of the world, are going through bombing themselves. Beirut was bombed, which is the capital of Lebanon, yesterday. So I'm expecting that retaliation any day, any minute. Now, that being said, we must always be instant in season and out, making sure that we're always prepared, that we're doing things that we can easily navigate through life systems. I have had a prayer life now for 55 years, and I can tell you, I have seen so much and heard so much that it would get completely confusing. Years ago, they even had something that was like a prayer walk, and you were supposed to go to different stations, almost like Catholics, stages of the cross, and you're supposed to do certain things at each of these stages. And hundreds of women in the Louisiana campground, including myself, started out on this journey, but I just kind of looked at it and go, this is kind of stupid. So I went right straight from one or two station right straight to the end, because what I had to say to God couldn't wait for all these different steps, this prayer walk. And I've often asked this question, have we ever looked at the lives of those who are teaching us to pray? Do they themselves actually practice this? Now, I know the woman who wrote that book, and I can tell you, this day and age, she doesn't do it. I'm not sure she did it back then, but it was a good sell book. People wanted to know how to pray. We all have a curiosity how to connect with God. And sometimes things become so overcomplicated. We're told the first thing you have to do is come in and repent, and then praise him, and then so forth and so on. Well, what if you haven't done anything that you need to repent over? That would be one of the questions. I don't just repent because, you see, I pray throughout the day. So if I don't keep my record straight as I go, and if I happen to do something that's offensive to God, I stop then and make it right with him and then the person that I have offended. So I don't live according to the books on prayer. I have not prayed that way from the time I started praying as a little girl. I have believed with all of my heart that God is real. Now, the first concept you need to get down in your head is the reality of God. Now, my first statement to you is, can you see your breath coming out your nostrils or your mouth right now? If we were in a specific type room, yes, you could. But naturally, right now, you can't see the breath that I'm breathing. You can't see the sound that's projecting from my mouth. But it's happening, isn't it? Obviously, or you wouldn't be listening to this class. So, my first statement to you is realize that God is as real as the breath you breathe, as the sound that you may or may not speak. He is an absolute, real, without question, God, deity, supreme being, whatever you want to call it in that one sense. I call him Adonai, means master of the universe. He's real. So the first thing you're going to have to do is first, let me say this. If Jesus were God, he's in a human fleshly body. How could he hear you if you're in South Carolina or Canada or Texas or Mexico or Israel? How could he hear us all as one? Well, that's because he's God. But is he God? I'm going to go on that, not totally today, but touch on a few highlights here and there. When Jesus walked this earth, people were not subject to the power of God. God did use him, but that did not encompass his in full entire power and deity. So God, first of all, is all-powerful. Toro Yavena Koraba. All-knowing. Debe Tevu Sundu. Cares deeply about you and me, and wants to hear from you. I have my family that I find unique. There are some family members that I've had that are great about contacting me on a daily basis, and I love to hear from them. There's others that will never even contact me to see how I'm doing. And if I were in a carnal situation, I'd say that's very hurtful. The only thing you listen to me is if I'm giving you a text, but you never inquire about my well-being or if I need anything. And this is a natural sense on all universal levels. But I have one son that it doesn't go by a day. If it is, it's very rarely that he does not contact me by phone or by text, even by voice message. And I look forward to even, hey, Mom, how are you doing? Or, Mom, how's the front line going? He's very endearing to me because he cares about my existence. People in your social circle don't care about your existence. But I've got a question for you. How much of you have you shown to care about them? You see, I reciprocate what I give out. I show my son love every day. He is my heartbeat. We have this thing we say back and forth to each other. And for security reasons, I'm not going to tell you what it is. But it's always something that's inserted every day or two. And we always say the same thing, and I always respond the same way. You see, I know he's going to say it, and I know what I'm going to say. But let's talk about God. If I, as a natural mother, care about my children, my loved ones, and they don't care about me, at what point would I cut them off from communication? Would I cease to have interaction with them? At what point would I say, they don't really care about me? Why am I wasting my time? You see, everyone under the sound of my voice is guilty of one of the massive characteristics of God. Listen to me closely. Every one of you are guilty of the lack of showing forth God's love. You expect God to hear and answer you the minute you clap your hands and the minute that the words come out, and in some cases, the minute you beg him to death. I had my son that was living, Chris. He loved to wait till I was on the phone, and then he would come and ask me something. And I would say, son, just a minute, I'm on the phone. And he'd keep badgering me. And I said, Chris, did you hear me? I said, I'm on the phone. He goes, okay, Mom, I hear you. And he'd keep it up. And finally I said, okay, Chris, just whatever it is, go ahead. Later in life, he told me, Mom, I only did that because I knew if I kept it up, you would give me what I wanted. And you'd say yes. And I knew if I waited till you were on the phone, you wouldn't have a clue what I asked you about. And I thought the ingenious of this guy was just amazing. But you see, you don't communicate with me and show me your love, but you want me to show you my love, the expression of my love. Now let's put this in a spiritual level. How do you say to him, Tarifenehu, Tarikalau Shembanari, I love you with all of my heart, Tarifene Turifu, and really mean it? When I say those words, he opens up the windows of heaven and he says, I'm listening. I care about you. I don't ask God for things, for the most part, that I realize are absolutely ridiculous. I caught myself yesterday. I was dealing with some things, and I said to the Lord, oh, please, Lord, just hurry this up and please bring about what you brought me here for. Then I said, oh, please forgive me, Lord. I'm sorry. You're God. And you know the timing and you know the situation. And I am just carnal with impatient attitudes at times. Please forgive me. Whatever you will, I submit. You see, to pray the will of God is very difficult because we want our way. We want our desires, our goals, our ambitions, us. But what are we doing for him to reach out to them? So the first thing you need to identify is, who is God? He sees everything you do. He hears every word you speak. He knows every word you think. He is God. Now, there's just under 9 billion people on this earth, and he knows all of us, and he knows our name. He knows where we're located. He's not confined to a mortal body that is limited. He is all power and beauty divine. He is so amazing. The first thing we need to understand is who he is and how much he cares and loves us. Oh, we do some stupid things. I'll be the first to say I've been there. And there are consequences to that stupidity. But it's when I break away from all of that and I step back and I say, okay, just a moment. That was just about as dumb as they come. So identifying who he is first. But secondly, that he's the king of the universe. He's the ruler of the universe. Always know who he is. I always approach him with great respect, reverence, and awe. I would never burst into a natural throne room where a monarch sat and approach him like we do, or we have in times past approached God. He is sovereign. He is the all-inclusive. So once I know who he is, I need to keep that in the forefront of my mind at all times. You're not going to sneak around and fool God. You're not going to hide your sins. You can't hide your thoughts. When a thought comes into my mind that I know does not please God, I immediately ask the Lord to remove that thought. Please change what's on my mind. And sometimes it might be something I've seen or things that happen, but I don't want that weighing on my mind. Now, I'm talking to you about prayer. So first, identifying who he is and who you're talking to. He is not dead like our dear departed loved ones. Don't pray to a dead person. A dead person cannot answer you. A dead person cannot help you, but God can. Now, I'm not going to get into the spiritual levels of these things at this moment, but again, I'm laying the foundation, and I want us to be able to lay it so you can grasp it and apply it. I knew who God was when I was 5 years old. When my brothers hit an electric barbed wire fence and it didn't kill them, though they were hurt very seriously, I talked to God as I'm talking to you. Be real with your emotions when it comes to talking to God. Now, here's an important part. Many of you have been taught that the devil hears and he's going to play it against you. Hold it. Kiavenilo devasa. When you step into the throne room, the angels of God surround you and the enemy cannot hear you. He cannot use those things against you that you pray. So don't let your prayer stop, be stifled, or hindered because you think you're giving the devil ammo. Then what you're saying is that God is not all powerful. He is able to fend off every evil spirit. Now, here's the other clue. If I'm wearing makeup, jewelry, or items that are on my body that invite the spirits of hell, then that door is not completely shut. It's left just a little bit open. Now, pay very close attention to that. If you're wearing those items when you pray, then you can guarantee there's going to be an enemy on the sword. I don't even wear a watch when I'm teaching, worshiping the Lord. When I go out and about, I will wear my iWatch for a couple of reasons. One is because I fell and banged myself up some time ago, but it alerted everybody in my system to know that I fell, and they were able to come immediately to me. So that made me a firm believer out of wearing that iWatch when I'm out and about. I don't necessarily wear it at my apartment. Now, just a little side note. So if you think God is not going to hear you, then look around and make sure you don't have anything on your body, rings, necklaces, earrings, jewelry of any sort, and watch the symbolism, because symbolism is a welcome mat to spiritual battles. Now, in Be Ye Holy, I bring a lot of this up. So if you haven't got that yet, get it. Now, here's the thing. Once I have closed that door and I'm in his throne room, I can talk to him as I'm talking to you. And he will hear every word that I'm saying. I don't care if 5 billion people are praying at the same time. He knows my voice. He's got my voice print on his speed dial, if you want to call it like that. And he's got yours. So when you don't utilize the tool in your hand, then that's like saying I'm going to eat my dinner without a fork and spoon. I'm going to try to snorkel it through my nose. That's going to be kind of gross and definitely not going to happen. You have to have the tools at your disposal in order to utilize them. Now that we've talked to who God is, how to come into his throne room, we've talked about shutting those doors to those hindrances. Don't play secular music of any sort, because the lyrics will get stuck in your mind and they'll play in the least unlikely times. I don't watch movies as a whole. If I'm watching a documentary, I will do that. But I don't sit and watch stuff for entertainment value. I'm more about keeping my mind free of any scattered information. And I don't believe everything that I listen to when it comes to documentaries or historical facts. But I do hear what they have to say. Now that I've removed all my hindrances, I'm going into the throne room. I'm in the throne room and I'm talking to God. How do I approach him? First of all, if one of my children came up to me and said, I told you I wanted and I demand, I would say, then you step right out of this room, because I'm not going to listen to you. Or shut it down. I'm your mother and you will respect me. Now, I've used that in times past on my boys. One specific in particular, I had to use it quite frequently, but boy, it shut him down quick. Now, the point is, don't go in there and demand, command, or tell him what you want and how you want it and when you want it. Hello? You are his servant. He is not your rub a genie lamp and get everything you request. It's a good thing he's never answered everything I requested, because some of the things I requested, I can actually look back and go, that was a really stupid prayer. Just because he doesn't give me what I want doesn't mean he didn't hear it. I hate to say this, but he kind of like probably chalked it up to that was a stupid request. Not that he does that, but in a natural form. Let's just put it that way. Now, at this point, I'm going to continue to talk about prayer, but I'm going to ask if anyone has any questions. If you'll put them on the screen, Julian will read them to me, and I will see if I can answer them the best of my ability. Any questions up to this point? Because I'm teaching you how to pray. Now I'm going to take the opportunity to teach you when to pray. We see that there are many times that people think they've got to pray at a specific time element. And you would know our internet just went off the screen, so I hope I'm reconnecting at this point in time. Just as I start to say when to pray. Julian, I see you back up. I don't see Stacy. Have I come? Okay, there we are. Okay. Now, just when I say when to pray. When to pray. Now, don't pray just when you're in trouble. Now, watch this. This is happening like crazy right now. I am trying to teach this class, and the internet's like intermittent. So, if you don't get it in its entirety right now, then all you need to do is watch the renewal or the edited version, which will go up. So, you don't have to pray when you're only in trouble or when you have a problem. You need to pray naturally. Now, there are set times here in Jerusalem among the Muslim and among the Jewish as to the time of day and hours to pray and what to pray. That's a lot like the Catholic Church and some Christian world. But there is no specific time. Here in Jerusalem, it's dark, I think, right now. Where you're at, you're just starting your early day. Ours is coming to a close. So the time of day has no factor. Any time, any place, anywhere. If you do what I said, lay down that foundation of focusing your mind on God. Clear out everything, every obstacle. Don't have a phone on and don't have computers going or radios unless you're worshiping the Lord. Don't have a lot of distractions, but focus on Him. Now, I can pray, and I do, any place, anywhere, and anytime. It's not a drudgery. It's very much a pleasantry, something that I enjoy, talking with God, expressing Him my love, my concerns, my questions. So understand there is no specific day, hour of the week that a person is required to pray. None. None whatsoever. What about position? Is there a specific position? Should I fold my hands? Should I bow my head? What should I do? Should I like go into a little closet of prayer? First of all, let me address that. Since I talk to God like I'm talking to you throughout the day, I don't fold my hands. Sometimes I'm laying in the bed. Sometimes I'm in the shower. The location has nothing to do with it. What has to do is sincerity of heart. When you come into His throne room and you're sincere and you're real with Him, oh, that gets His attention, His undivided attention. So don't worry about if you're in a specific position. Many of you know in May I will be 70 years old. So getting up and down off of the floor on my knees is quite difficult at this age. So I will pray sitting down, laying down, standing up, anyhow I feel to communicate with God. Don't let the time element cause an issue. Always remember any time, any place, any position, but always the same entry. You come into His presence with respect and admiration, and I always tell Him how I feel about Him. He is my heartbeat. He's everything to me. He's not just someone I call upon when I'm in trouble. I used to not call on him at times because I was always in trouble. I didn't want him to think I was using him. And the only time I would call on him was if things were going bad. But then my life took on a spin where nothing ever went good, day after day, year after year. So I thought, you know what? I learned early on, you can't wait till everything's good to talk to him. Talk to him. Build a relationship. Let him know how much he means to you. So, do I ever stop praying? When it says pray without ceasing, I've always got the door of communication open with God. Always. And as I said, there is no restrictions. You do not have to be restricted. If you want a relationship with the Lord, then you must build one. It doesn't take a long period of time. It just takes practical application. And in doing that, you will establish a relationship. The power that God flows through me is not anything that I requested, not anything I desired. My only desire from the time I started serving the Lord in 1969 was to be the best person I could be for him, to love him with all of my heart and withhold nothing. That was and is and always has been my goal, to know him deeply, to understand his will for my life. That's been a priority. You see, prayer is not complicated, but we've made it that way. When you have offended the Lord, you've gone against his principles, the 10 Commandments, or the way you should treat people, immediately don't continue on your justification. Ask the Lord to forgive you because you were a bad representation of his kindness, love, mercy, compassion, long-suffering, tenderness, patience. Ask him to forgive you. And then the person that you may have violated, stop right there and get it straight that moment. I don't want the door to even start to close in my relationship with God. When I bring in an attitude, an action that does not please him, I know that that door is going to start closing. I've noticed that when we're on elevators or on the light rail on the bus, the doors will close automatically. And sometimes somebody will come and push, trying to get it to stay open. And on rare occasion, it does. But I've sat there and looked at people do that and think, if you had got here just a few minutes early, you wouldn't be going 90 to nothing on that button, trying to get the door to open. And the light rail runs about every 7 minutes. So why people are trying to beat the door open on the light rail is beyond me. They can just wait for the next one. There's one that's going to come. Now I want to incorporate another portion of this into this topic. Prayer and worship. Worship is a vital, important part of your relationship with God. When I sing a song, I sing it unto him. I'm expressing to him how I feel and how much I love him. It's my love song to him in a respectful manner. Those are the types of songs that I want to play. Sometimes I play one with a pretty nice beat, and that's good too. There's not a specific beat that needs to happen, except I would say, exit the rave music, exit the, rock and roll, exit those that have beats. I've seen churches get on the beat and they jump up and down like little jack-in-the-boxes and they're all on the beat. Let the music stop if they stop. That's not worship. That's a programming that's happening. Used to, in church, nobody jumped up and down when they worshiped God. They just worshiped God no matter what. Oh, not today. That's unheard of. It's not appropriate, as the leaders began to say. But what would they know? They don't even know how to pray. We're not on a competition on who can pray the most, so length of time is not necessary. You can pray a short period of time, whatever a sentence to, whatever you feel on your heart. Always understand He's going to listen if you just remove the distractions. I can't think of anything else that comes across to my mind. Julian, can you include anything or think of anything that I might have not brought up? I did teach this to our staff this past week. So,
One of the things that you brought up that I haven't really heard nobody brought up, because I've listened to different things throughout the years and on prayer and stuff like that, and not because I needed it, as far as because I was being on your ministry for a long time, but just to see what other people are saying, just to see what they're teaching, stuff like that. But nobody brings up the thing about the jewelry, the stuff that you're wearing when you actually go to prayer. And that's vitally important, because if you have symbolism that it's occultic or satanic or stuff like that, of course, he's not going to hear you. He's not going to be there, because you have all this stuff that is you are inviting Satan into your life. You're inviting evil spirits into your life, so he's not going to be there. And that's, I think, that's one very important thing that nobody teaches when it comes to prayer. That everybody teaches that, you're going to get what desires of your heart. You're going to get this. You're going to get name it and claim it, stuff like that. That's not the way it works. And the way you explain it, that's how it is. It's not. We overcomplicate things, and we also listen to other people that just tell you that. To me, it's nonsense, because they're not even living a true life with God. That for them to be teaching that, because like I said, I've never heard anybody say that as far as the jewelry and stuff like that.
the other thing that I want to bring out, and it came to me while you were talking, is repetitive, redundant. When we sit down at the table, I said this to someone the other day. My dad had a prayer that he said every time we sit down to eat. Throughout my entire life, he said the same prayer. I couldn't remember it. I never could remember it. My older brother, he could quote it all the way, even past Daddy's death. He could quote it when he was able to communicate. But I couldn't get it. And I made reference to one time years ago, we went to visit my grandma and grandpa, Eller, and they would get down beside their chair when they went to pray. They were obviously younger aged, could do that. And when they got down to pray at the dinner table, we weren't sure just exactly how long that prayer was going to be. It was going to be done when Grandpa was done. Now, repeating over and over and over, and especially when people are trying to say, in order to have the Spirit of God, you've got to do this, 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 that's a lie. That's the biggest lie ever told. You don't need to repeat anybody else's prayer. Redundancy. Are you really thankful for the food that's in front of you? And yesterday, Stacy was going to go out to the market, and she goes, well, I guess I better go get a few provisions in case we can't get anything in the future. I'm going to pick up some ramen. And I said, okay. Would I even thank God for ramen? I would thank God for anything I have. Sincerely. When we go out into a restaurant here in Jerusalem, we don't see anyone pray. Now, according to the Jewish custom, they're supposed to pray at the end of the meal. We don't see anybody pray at the table at all, but we do. Now, don't get into the habit of saying your same prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. Are you really? If you're laying on the bed, I'm pretty sure he knows you're laying down to sleep. Maybe. And so we say these repetitive things, and we think that by saying Jesus, 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 that's going to make a difference. It doesn't. Saying Jesus is like me saying Jesus in Spanish. Means nothing. Nothing. The name of Adonai among the Islamic is Allah. Among Judaism, it's Hashem or Adonai. And the poor Christian can't figure out who they're praying to. That's a little puzzling, don't you think? Well, so when you pray, don't say repetitive things. I will pray many times before anybody's around, because it doesn't matter if they hear it, it matters that God hears it. So let's keep the focus on prayer, especially as we see God changing the universe to please His kingdom. If there's not any questions, no other comments, and that concludes everything I have to tell you about prayer. And if you forget it, just replay the video and share it, because I can reassure you, everybody needs it. Thank you for listening. And Julian, do you have any closing statements?
No, you pretty much said everything.
You know, they probably wonder if you ever speak. What about you, Stacy?
I think the most important fact was, you know, in our case, we were always facing some type of chaos. And so I think in our case, just God sees, He knows what you're going through. So, but just being thankful and, you know, asking for strength to go make it through is probably the basic, you know, to me is very important. Just, I know going through hell and chaos and everything else, just give me strength to make it through and that I don't fail you. That's my main prayer, not failing God. So, I don't have anything else additional to say. Like I said, I also put it on there, if you did not really get the full effect of the whole video, please, we will re-upload this at a later date. Our internet was going in and out. So as I stated before we started, our internet will be going in and out due to the war and everything that's been happening here. So we appreciate everyone who's been tuning in and everyone who has, just sent plenty of prayers and keeping in touch with us. And, so thank you for joining us and thank you for, sticking with us. Please share this video, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for future videos or for live feed or whenever we can come online, you'll be, it'll give you that notification so that you can join. So thank you once again. We appreciate everyone. Shabbat Shalom.